is it more of a trauma release exercise or tension release, or is it a bit of both? Like what is the T in the TRE?
Yeah, it is both. It is tension and trauma. The T covers two bases:
Right.
tension and trauma releasing exercises. That's
Hmm.
the, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is going to be a loaded question and like a big one, but like there's so much talk online these days about releasing trauma. It's like a really big buzz and more in the breathwork field. You know, you
Sure.
see a lot of people huffing and puffing and crying and quote
Yeah.
unquote releasing trauma. But I still don't quite understand what that means. And so when we talk about trauma release exercises in this context, if you could just help unpack that a little bit, because like I struggle to know what we mean by like releasing the trauma. So it'd be good for you to kind of help us walk through that minefield.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and you're right. We see things talked about, and sometimes intelligently, and sometimes not as much so. You know, it's a big
Mm.
field, and trauma has become a big industry. So, okay, so here would be how I would break that down. So the model that we use in TRE is the idea that, well, why is it that our body is designed to have this tremoring process? Is because organically, biologically, tremoring shows up in times of stress and trauma. So we know that from animal studies, videos of polar bears and zebras and impalas that have been under threat response, and if they are not killed, they almost always will exhibit um, uh, tremoring as a discharge process before they continue on with their lives. Now that threat stress response cycle has been pretty well um, observed and described in some ways most usefully by Peter Levine. So Peter Levine is a well-known trauma person. He's the developer of somatic experiencing, and tremoring shows up in somatic experiencing. I'm trained in that as well, but it happens sort of organically. There's not a way to it's not there's not a process to invite it to happen. It just sometimes shows up. Anyway, that's an aside. So, but anyway, what Dr. Levine did a really nice job of is showing that our biology, and this it maps to the polyvagal sort of framework as well, which we can go into if we want to. But basically, if an animal or a human, because we're mammals, if we start out at a baseline physiology, and then there's a stressor, let's say it's a life threat, like in the case of a prey animal. Well, we're going to go up into fight or flight responses. That's a part of our nervous system, of course, and attempt those things first. And if those are not successful, an animal or a human under these kinds of circumstances is going to shift over into the freeze immobilization response. And that's kind of a shutdown. It's very different biochemistry, and it's quite protective because in the animal kingdom, animals that switch over into that mode, if the predator animal is not truly hungry, if they're just operating from their predatory instinct, they might just sort of lose interest. Kind of playing dead is the language that is most commonly known there. But then the animal doesn't just go from that to, okay, that predator animal's gone, everything's fine. Because a lot has happened under the hood.